Welcome back to ITTN's Scenic and Emerald webinar series. I'm delighted that you guys have joined us today because we are going to be taking a deep dive into the Scenic Eclipse, which I cannot tell you how beautiful this ship is. I'm so glad you're here. Kay very kindly invited me on board when the ship was docked in Dublin Port. I think it was around May, wasn't it, of this year?
Yeah, early June, I think, something like, but somewhere around that time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just spectacular. So I'm so glad that those of you who are on the live webinar are here and you have a chance to ask Kay any questions. And for those of you watching back, that you get to learn about this spectacular ship because it is absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's just pure luxury. So without further ado, before I hand over to Kay, just a quick reminder, we do have the last in our series, which is coming up next Tuesday, again, starting at 9:30. We're going to be looking at Emerald's yacht cruises. So that's another one that you really, really shouldn't miss. And I'm sure a lot of people will agree that this webinar series has been absolutely fantastic. Kay, you're fantastic at presenting and really enjoying having you on and having you presenting. So, and very quick reminder for everybody, of course, by registering and joining the live webinars, you'll be in with a chance of winning a place on a Scenic and Emerald fam trip in 2025. So the details are still to be confirmed, but yeah. I think you will agree that whatever ship you are sailing on, whichever itinerary you're doing, it is going to be pure luxury. So I'm going to stop talking now, Kay, and hand over the reins to you. I'm super excited about this one. Guys, hope you enjoy it. As always, if you have any questions, we will open up the Q&A at the very end. Just pop them into the chat box. And of course, anybody watching back, if you have any questions, feel free to comment underneath this video. So thanks so much again, Kay, and I will leave it to you.
Cool. Thank you so much. So yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm happy to see you all here, ready to find out a little bit more about Scenic Eclipse, our beautiful discovery yachts. So basically, for those who've joined us in the past two sessions, it's all been about river cruising. Of course, yeah, river cruising is in our DNA, right? Scenic and Emerald cruises both started out, in the cruising industry with river cruising. And 5 years ago, we decided to really expand into ocean cruising as well. One thing that was really important was that we still keep the DNA of the river cruising, which means small ships, very personalized, very familiar atmosphere. You know, the guests should know each other at the end of the cruise. The crew knows the guests. That's really, really important to us as a company. And it's something that we've really, transmitted across all our ocean ships as well. So with both brands. So going into Scenic Eclipse, we have two discovery yachts, Scenic Eclipse and Scenic Eclipse 2. And they were built in 2019 and 2023, respectively. So really still new vessels. And again, in line with the whole Scenic ultra all-inclusive package, this is also an all-inclusive concept, meaning that you will add the flights to the tour, but we confirm we include the transfers from the airport to the ship and back. We include all the gratuities, again, both on board, but also during the excursions on ashore. We include complimentary Wi-Fi. So we've implemented Starlink as well on our Scenic Eclipse vessels for a better connection. We have all the different restaurant, all the different dining options that are included, which we will get to. Yes, you will see all the variety. I'm always a little bit hungry when I talk about the different venues that we have. But yeah, so all the dining options, all the drinks are included, and of course, all the shore excursions again. This is really important, considering that they're included on worldwide destinations. So not only on, for example, polar cruising, but really even if you're selling 2 weeks Japan, just know that on a daily basis, the excursions for the guests are included at no additional cost. So yeah, really, really fantastic. To talk a little bit about the ships. So they are built for polar regions. Basically, Scenic Eclipse and Scenic Eclipse 2 were initially built for Antarctica, with Antarctica in mind, specifically with the Drake Passage in mind. So they are polar class 6 ships with strengthened hull, perfect, of course, for sailing in those regions. What makes them really special in the sense that we thought of the Drake Passage when we built them, they have oversized stabilizers on board. The stabilizers are 50% larger than other ships of the same size, but only around 30% smaller than bigger cruise ships. So it does give it that extra stability when you're sailing. That was really, really important in the build, that the guests going into through the Drake Passage would still have a smooth sail as possible. Because that's, you never know, will we have the Drake Lake or the Drake Shake? And so we just wanted our guests to feel comfortable at all times. Apart from that, of course, we use dynamic positioning system. So we basically can stop the ship with GPS data and not use our anchor. So at the one time, it keeps the ship in a very specific position, which helps us, for example, if there's a swell or if there's wind, we can really position it to go on Zodiac tours, get the guests off the ship in the safest manner possible. But at the same time, we can also protect the sea bottom by not dropping our anchor. So that's another feature that we have on board. Of course, we have everything you would expect on an expedition ship. We have 12 Zodiacs, we have our kayaks, our stand-up paddles on board. But what makes Scenic Eclipse very unique, we have 2 helicopters and a submersible on board as well, with which we offer tours wherever it's possible. So that always depends on weather conditions, on local authorities. It's something we never pre-guarantee in advance, but that is always bookable on board by the guests. That is those are the only 2 tours that are not included as part of our shore excursions or land excursions program. So the heli and the subs are optional. But apart from that, as I said, everything is included. So let's dive into the look and feel of Scenic Eclipse yachts. So as you'll already see from these few pictures, it's not a typical cruise ship. We don't have big boutiques or big pool areas. It's really all about relaxation. The destination is key, but of course the guests, once they come back on board, should have their private haven where they can just relax in. It's modern design, beautiful look and feel. And I think the combination of the adventure of an expedition yacht with that luxurious, beautifully designed, almost boutique style yacht, that combination makes it really, really special. Yeah, and I've mentioned this in every single webinar, and I will mention it again. We are an Australian company. The Australian atmosphere really, it rules on board. You can really feel that laid back vibe, that really relaxed atmosphere. It's luxury, but casual at the same time. And I think that our guests really, really appreciate that feeling. So heading into our suites, which of course, the first thing when guests arrive, what happens? They check in. We don't do an embarkation or we don't do a check-in in the cruise terminal. That's important to distinguish as well. So basically our guests come on board, they go to the Scenic Lounge, have a glass of champagne. And when the guest services team is ready to check them in, they pick them up, bring them individually to guest services where they have their individual check-in. Their butler then takes them along their muster station for an individual safety drill to explain exactly where their muster station is, what they need to know for the safety in case of an emergency. And then the butler brings them to their suite. Yeah, so it's all very personalized, very much relaxed from the first minute that they're on board. And then the suite, of course, is the next thing that the guests see. All the suites we have on board are with a veranda, so all balcony suites, all with butler service in all categories. And our lead-in category, you can see here, is our veranda suite at 32 square meters. So again, quite spacious, always with a separate little seating area. We have, everything you would expect. We have the bathrobes for the guests. They can have slippers. We have water bottles that are reusable. The mini bar is included and just can be filled with the drinks of the guest's choice. So it's always filled with, of course, the standard drinks that you have, but then guests can say, oh, I don't want this, I don't want this, I'd rather have this, and it's fully adapted. We also have 3 little crystal vases, I would say, that are empty on top of the mini bar. And the butler then asks the guests if they'd like some spirits or liqueurs to be filled into those vases so that the guests don't get a full bottle, for example, of gin or of vodka in their suite, which afterwards, I mean, which guest will empty it by the end of the cruise? Probably none. So we always offer them in little vases that can even be stored in the minibar if it's a liqueur that needs to be cooled. So that's quite a nice touch. Apart from that, we have 24-hour room service as well. So that's really for all suite categories. To see the balcony from the other side here, you see quite spacious as well. So guests can really go outside, enjoy the views at all times. We have binoculars in all suites. So if there's, for example, sometimes we hear the captain say, oh, there's whales on starboard side, backboard side. And if it's just where your suite is, you don't have to rush out across the ship to go to the observation deck. You can just, you know, grab your binoculars and go stand out on your balcony. Of course, we have some larger suites as well. All the categories are possible up to almost 200 square meters. All the veranda, deluxe veranda, grand deluxe veranda suites have a very spacious bathroom with a shower. If guests would like to have a bath as well, then starting from the spa suite, they have that option. So the spa suite is a little bit larger at 46 to 50 square meters with a really completely separate seating area. So it's a little bit more cornered off. They have a separate walk-in closet as well. And really nice feature, they have the bath with whirlpool option overlooking the beautiful ocean. So they have quite a nice view in these suites. And then, of course, the largest suite being our owner's penthouse suite at almost 200 square meters, which has a separate living and dining area, a separate bedroom, a bathroom with steam sauna, on Scenic Eclipse too, even with infrared sauna. So really, really, really spacious. And another nice feature, they have their own private sun deck with jacuzzi outside. Important to know in terms of suites, the maximum occupancy that we have on all in all categories on the ship is 2 guests. Yeah, so we don't have any triple or quadruple occupancy suites on board. So if there's a family traveling with older teenagers, for example, they will book a second suite for the kids or the teenagers in this case. And we don't have any connecting doors in between the suites. The only suite that has a connecting door is the owner's penthouse suite that connects to the neighboring spa suite. If you combine those two, it becomes the 2-bedroom penthouse suite. And we have 2 of those then on board. Yes, then the next step, at least as important as your suite during your stay, is, of course, the food on board. We think it's very important that guests, just have a lot of variety. We want to give them different options. A lot of times I hear, but you know, if you're going on an expedition cruise or even on a cruise somewhere to the South Pacific, the destination should be the focus and not so much how many restaurants you have on offer. But I know from speaking for myself, if I'm 2 weeks on board a ship, regardless which one, I like to have the possibility to maybe have Italian one night, then go for sushi the next night, and then maybe try a third option on the third night. Just really always, varying the different cuisines that we have. So to take you through the different restaurants, the different venues that we have, starting with the Yacht Club. So the Yacht Club is our buffet style restaurant, which is open for breakfast and lunch. It always has a buffet with different stations, but we also have for breakfast a whole a la carte menu. So if guests would like to order eggs Benedict, or they want to order, pancakes or anything, basically waffles, oatmeal, any kind of thing, it's all possible to be ordered a la carte. But of course, you have also a whole station with chia puddings and smoothie of the day and even ginger shots and different yogurts and fruits and warm dishes and breads. So everything the guests can choose from. Lunch is the same. Different stations are available every day, of course, varying up the dishes that are served. We rarely open the Yacht Club for dinner. Sometimes we'll have a theme night. So the last time I was on board, we had an Indian night. which was really, really nice. So our executive chef who was on board at the time is from India, and he had his own masalas. He brought spices from India, and he prepared a fantastic theme night with different cooking stations that the guests could then go to. So it's a fantastic option, but as I said, rarely used, maybe once per week that we have it. Another alternative for guests to go for breakfast, for lunch, but also for dinner is our Azur Bar and Cafe. It's a much smaller venue. Guests can get a light breakfast there. Everything there is ordered a la carte. You have also, if you go in the afternoon, you can see it in the picture, some pastries there. So you can have afternoon tea. You can grab a salad, a bowl, a sandwich. Sometimes I'll just pop by for a coffee and a cookie. They have different cookies every day. So it's really, really a nice place. And the Yacht Club and the Azur Bar and Cafe have also a little bit of outdoor seating. So if it's sunny, it's really nice to just outside on the terrace and just enjoy the fresh air and enjoy the views. When it comes to dinner, we split the guests up across different venues. If we had to say our main restaurant, if we had to choose one, would be the Elements. It's the largest restaurant we have. It's the most international in terms of cuisine, but also with a tinge of Mediterranean. So we have every day a pasta dish. We have every day a fresh risotto dish. We have seafood. We'll have different meats. We'll do, for example, lobster and steak surf and turf, depending on the evening. The menu here changes on a daily basis. So even if guests choose to do 2 weeks on board and come every night to the Elements, they would always have something different to try out. This restaurant does not need to be booked in advance. Guests can just come just come in the evening whenever they would like to. It's free seating and just enjoy their dinner. Another venue is the Cocos. The Cocos is one restaurant that is divided into 3 different venues. So the Cocos, this part is the Asian Fusion. The Asian Fusion is a family-style concept where we have a selection of dishes from all over Asia, including the Middle East and India. The menu varies every 2 days. And guests can just, if they're, for example, traveling with 4, like 2 couples, or even if they've met guests on board and want to sit with 6, they can order the whole menu up and down, and it will just be placed in the middle to share it family style. Of course, if it's a couple traveling by themselves, they don't have to order the whole menu. They can just choose the dishes they would like. But it is something that we offer. Again, for the Cocos, no reservation is needed. Guests can just walk in and ask to have a table there. Again, it's free seating as well. Within the Cocos, we have a separate smaller venue, which is our sushi bar. With the freshest sushi prepared by our sushi chefs. Fantastic choice. Here you can have either the ocean view or the sushi chef view in terms of seating. And this is a venue that needs to be pre-booked in advance. So basically, to already preempt the question about, okay, how does that work with pre-booking? You cannot book it before embarkation. So it's not a pre-booking in terms of when I fill out my trip personalizer, I already choose my venues, but rather that upon embarkation, guests have the possibility to book different restaurants. And to avoid that, for example, one couple does the sushi bar every night of the cruise, and maybe that other guests don't have a chance to try it, we allow each suite to book each venue once. And once all the guests have had the possibility of making their bookings, there's always still spaces available. Then we open again a second slot, and then guests can book again the restaurant of their choice. And of course, there's wait lists as well if they want to try various restaurants twice, for example. So that's how it works. So going back to the Cocos, on the other side of the restaurant, we have our third venue, which is the night market. The night market is my favorite venues. Number one, I love Asian food, but I love the concept of the night market. It looks like teppanyaki. So a lot of times we're like, oh, it's a teppanyaki style restaurant. Not really. The concept of night market is bringing the different street food of Asia, so that is sold in the night markets in the different Asian countries, and transformed it into a 6-course menu. So we have different themes here. We have an Indian night market menu. We have a more Middle Eastern menu. We have an Asian menu. We also last year started with a Filipino menu, which is my favorite. And it's really fantastic because you find out a little bit about, yeah, how did these dishes come to be in that region? They're partially prepared by the chef right there, then and there, and they explain to you how it works. So it's a little bit of storytelling mixed in with the whole, yeah, dining experience. So it's really, really quite lovely. The menu changes every 3 days as well. So again, guests have the possibility to try out the menu that they would like at the time that they're making their booking. Then going to a whole different concept, our Lumière, our French restaurant, offers classical French cuisine in the form of a 7-course menu. We have a separate champagne bar within the Lumière. So when guests arrive, not only do they have their 7-course menu, but they have an amuse-bouche and are welcomed with a coupe of champagne, which is different to the champagne served in the Scenic Lounge or in the other restaurants. So Lumière really has their own wines, their own champagnes. So it's it's an experience as such as well. And here the menu changes every 3 days as well. So again, giving the possibility of different choices. So you see there is quite a lot of variety. Actually, I was once told that guests would have to be on board for almost 3 months to be able to try all the different dishes that we have. So yeah, that's very ambitious, but it also shows that, yeah, it never gets boring in terms of food when you're on board. And of course, I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the suites, you also have 24-hour room service, which is a separate room service menu. Only the top suites, like for example, the owner's penthouse suite, can also order room service from the different restaurants because they have a separate dining area. So that can be served there upon request as well. One restaurant here I haven't mentioned is the chef's table. We have a separate chef's table. The chef's table is an 11-course tasting menu with wine pairing, and it's on invitation only. It's served to 10 guests. It's in a separate venue within the Elements restaurant with a view of the galley. So they can really see what's going on in the kitchen. And it's on invitation only. So it's usually the top suites or really high repeaters that get invited. And it's not on a daily basis. It's hosted by the executive chef himself. And the chef needs 3 days to prepare the menu. So it's really, really quite special. Don't want to give away too much, but the guests get a toolbox and they are interactive, sort of in the sense that they participate in each dish that is served. So yeah, it's really quite fun to do. And I don't actively promote it at events because of course it's on invitation only, so guests cannot book it. And it's just a nice surprise for those that get invited. So that's all about our food and our different restaurants on board. With all the eating, we tend to want to do some exercise, or at least I do. And we have a 24/7 gym on board. Guests can go with all the modern equipment. We have different weights. We have like these elastic bands to use, resistance bands, they're called exactly. So all those different options that the guests can make use of. We have a separate yoga and Pilates studio as well. We give a class each day. But we also see that some guests just take their practice from home and want to do their own session, regardless of a group class. And we just see that the yoga and Pilates studio breathes in that Zen feeling. And it's just nicer for somebody who wants to do a Pilates or a yoga session on their own on a mat in this really, I would say very quiet, very relaxed atmosphere rather than in the gym where it's all more about, kicking it up a notch. Another very nice aspect of Scenic Eclipse is our Senses Spa. So we have a very large spa, which is around 550 square meters in size. So really, really quite spacious. Guests can just walk in. There's no reservation needed. They can just come in their bathrobe and slippers into the spa and enjoy the indoor and outdoor area. So we have different steam rooms. So we have the sauna, we have the infrared seats as well. We have a salt therapy lounge, we have the plunge pool. So really, really different options for the guests to enjoy and just relax. It's especially nice, of course, when you've been somewhere in a destination where it's a bit colder. But even if it's warmer, I have to say I quite like just signing off, spending 1 hour and just doing nothing and just enjoying that whole relaxing atmosphere. And if guests would like to book a spa treatment or a massage, or they'd like to book a hairdresser's appointment, then that would be at an additional cost, and that they would have to make a booking, which can also be done once the guests embark on board. So here you see also the Vitality pool on the outdoor. This is the outdoor area of the spa, overlooking the back of the ship. So it's quite nice as well. It has a whirlpool option as well. So if you're there just relaxing and enjoying the view, it's quite beautiful. We have some sunbeds on that area. So guests, if it's a bit sunny, they can also just lie out in the sun. Since we're already outdoors, let's head up to our sky deck. Important to know, the ship was, of course, built for the polar regions, so we don't have a big swimming pool on board. That's important for you to know if you're offering this to your guests, just that they're aware of it. We usually, we don't tend to miss it. We have the 2 jacuzzis on the top sky deck, then we have the Vitality pool in the spa, and it's never very busy. So in the sense, guests can just really enjoy and relax at their time there. On the sky deck, we have different sun loungers. We have the open bar. On the 2 sides, we have cabanas as well that guests can just lie in as well. There's no need to pre-book them. And it's really nice just to enjoy the views on the sun deck. On Scenic Eclipse 2, which was built last year, we had a little bit of a change in terms of look and feel. So here we did include a second Vitality pool on that sky deck area. So here you can see the difference. It's a little Vitality pool, also again with the whirlpool option, with the sunbeds. We have an inside bar right behind, and we still have the cabanas. Yeah, so that really hasn't changed all that much. It just gives a little bit of an extra option to cool down when it's warmer. And what's nice also, this Eclipse 2 is the ship that's been sailing Australia, doing the South Pacific, Indonesia. So yeah, that is really where they really want to enjoy it. Whereas Eclipse 1 has, of course, been more going north, the Arctic, Greenland, Iceland, is now heading through Canada back down towards Ushuaia. So as a ship built for polar regions, we do have a lot of indoor spaces, and they're really quite beautiful. We have our observation lounge where the guests can just have a seat, play some board games, read a book. We have a coffee and tea bar at the back of the lounge. It gives direct access to the front, to the bow of the ship, to the observation terrace. And the bow of the ship is actually accessible. So we use that deck, that terrace area, quite a lot for sailaways, for cocktail sessions. We use it when we're in expedition mode, in discovery mode, with our discovery team. So they set up their telescopes there. The discovery team is there to answer questions about fauna, flora, about anything that the guests see. It's really where we do the best whale, polar bear watching out on that deck. And I've spent some time really in the bow, just standing there looking at the ice. I was in Greenland last year, and I was just mesmerized. I think I stood there for 30 minutes just staring at ice. So yeah, that in itself was a fantastic experience. So that's always open to the guests when they're on board, regardless of destination. The heart of the ship is our scenic lounge. I mentioned it briefly at the beginning when I was talking about embarkation, that the guests get welcomed, they get brought to the lounge, have a glass of champagne. So this is really where guest services is located. It's where the guests meet up for before dinner or after dinner drinks. We have a guitarist or a pianist playing live music. Our cruise director and assistant cruise director on our ships always have a multi-talent, because not only do they organize really everything concerning entertainment on board, but they also have magical voices. So they're always also singing talents that have their own shows. And sometimes they do a pre-dinner session right in the lounge with the guitarist or the pianist, which is really, really fun. Or then they move into the theater after dinner, which I will show you in the next slide as well. So this is really the place where people come together. It's where we meet for excursions. In the background, you also see a beautiful bar. It is our whiskey bar. So we have a whiskey fan with our owner, our chairman. He's really a huge whiskey fan. So we have on both our Scenic Eclipse ships over 135 different whiskeys. And the best thing is they're all included. So the guests can just really try different whiskeys. We always have the bartenders that can give them some information. We do also organize some whiskey tastings on board, but we'll also do a gin tasting or a wine tasting. So it's not all about whiskey, but if you do have clients who are really huge whiskey lovers, then this is the ship for them. So heading into the theater, which is right, actually right behind the whiskey bar, we have this beautiful theater with reclinable seats. It's almost like one of those premium luxury movie theater type seats, business class seats. It's just fantastic. We initially had it built to give lectures in our different destinations, I would say. But here you see that this is also where we do some musical shows as well. Another great highlight, we have an open bridge policy, so guests can just walk up to the bridge as long as the door is open, which is most of the time. They can just go sit with the captain or the nautical team, ask their questions, enjoy the views. So it's really also a big plus to have this on our vessels. And basically, it is what is really where Scenic Eclipse just absolutely shines. We have our Zodiacs, we have our stand-up paddle, we have our kayaking tours that we offer. The guests receive a parka at the beginning of their tour when they're in expedition mode, and they get to use the thermal boots that we provide as well. The parka can be taken home afterwards as a gift. The boots are just, of course, for use during the trip. The helis, as I already mentioned, are optional tours that can be done where it's possible. We have the submarine and the submersible tours. Both the heli and the sub seat 6 guests plus the pilot. And it's important to know, basically, we don't only do expeditions. So our expedition voyages limit 200 guests, which is, for example, Svalbard, which is Antarctica, where we have also a larger discovery team on board, where we give lectures. We have the full kayak and Zodiac program. But we also have the total opposite, which is our cruise voyages, for example, in the Caribbean or the Mediterranean, where it's a cruise, guests have different shore excursions. We a little bit more limited in terms of the discovery team, because there it's more water sports activities. They have their daily excursion program that they do. We have the full capacity of 228 guests, so 114 suites on board. And then we have a hybrid version, which is our discovery mode. So destination-wise, we're really split out across Antarctica in the winter months. But then, as I mentioned, we head up along South America, the Mediterranean. We pass by Ireland, Scotland, go up north, the Arctic, and then back down. Whereas Scenic Eclipse 2 has been really in Fiji, South Pacific, doing Australia, New Zealand, heading to Antarctica as well, but from New Zealand and then back again. And we'll then also be doing Japan next year, South Korea, Taipei, Indonesia. So really completely different directions. To give you some examples, to finish off the presentation, I did want to give you some itinerary examples to get a little bit of an idea what we do. So we have a really long Antarctic itinerary, which is 22 or 23 days, depending on the date. This one is longer because it includes the highlights, South Georgia and the Falkland Islands. So in this case, you only pass the Drake Passage once, and you really, it's just a little bit longer tour that we offer a couple of times per season. The classic tour that we offer is a 13-day itinerary, which we are now already focused on November 2025 to February 26, so already next winter season. which brings you down through the Lemaire Channel, Port Lockroy. We do have also a Beyond the Antarctic Circle tour, which just goes a little bit more to the south. And then you'll be heading back to Ushuaia both ways. For our Antarctic cruises, the pre-night in Buenos Aires and the flight from Buenos Aires to Ushuaia and back is always included in the price. Yeah, that's important to know. I mentioned we do South America, so we're doing the Brazilian coastline again in March next year, but also in October. So in October, we have some great promotional rates. So these are all promotional rates that I'm showing you that we're offering at the moment until end of year. A little bit closer, we have a brand new itinerary that's in none of our brochures, which just was launched. It's going to be during Easter next year. And it's a cruise that starts in Tenerife. We go through Madeira. Madeira. We are in Funchal. We spend an overnight and 2 days on Porto Santo as well, before heading through Tangier, then up to Malaga. So it's a 1 week itinerary, already beautiful sun, of course, down by the Canary Islands, Morocco, and also fantastic rate. So this is really a nice option to escape the winter cold. Then maybe a little bit less interesting for you having part of Ireland, but it is an embarkation in Dublin. So I thought it would be nice to mention. We'll be heading up through Scotland, along the Faroe Islands, and then really doing a half circumnavigation of Iceland next summer, and then ending in Reykjavik. So also here, beautiful destinations. And if you're doing all of that by land, of course, it's much more difficult than to just have a new stop every day with your cruise ship. And since, of course, it's a ship that has only 200 guests, we have the possibility to access some smaller ports. So, for example, you can see here right before Reykjavik, we have Dinjandi, which is a really, it's the area where you have this big waterfall, which is known from pictures in Iceland. And I had the luck to be in Dinjandi earlier this year on Eclipse. And it was fantastic because we just took the Zodiacs out. And instead of, basically going to a port and driving by bus, we anchored, took the Zodiacs, and then took a Zodiac tour all the way to shore, did a little hike up to the waterfall. So it was really, really beautiful. And it's something you can't do with another ship. So definitely a big highlight. For guests who want to spend even more time discovering Iceland, we do also the whole circumnavigation from and to Reykjavik. We do it twice next summer. And then you have stops in the little town of Seyðisfjörður with that little picturesque church and street with the colored sidewalk. You go to Grimsey Island, which is the place to spot puffins, which I've discovered are my new favorite birds. They're absolutely gorgeous and funny to see. And then we also have different stops, of course, along the way, doing the whole circumnavigation. Again, going to Dinjandi, you'll have time if you do a pre or post also to see Reykjavik. And we also have different stops along the way where we do some whale watching. So it's really quite exciting for the guests to see that whole area, especially Iceland being very diverse. If you're in the north or the west, it's very, very different. So quite nice to see. And then going in a totally different direction around the same time, Eclipse 2 will be doing itineraries around basically starting in Taipei, heading down through the Philippines from the bustling city of Manila to this beach paradise of El Nido, which is perfect for snorkeling, where we will stop during the day, and then head down to Sabah in Borneo to see the orangutans, and then down different little Indonesian islands, going to Sulawesi, of course, seeing the Komodo dragons on Komodo Island, and then finally finishing the tour after 17 days on Bali. So this is definitely one of the tours that I keep promoting because it just sounds amazing to me. Also there in Taiwan, we'll be doing the Taroko Gorge, which is really, the national park. I think it's one of Taiwan's most famous sites. So you really see, again, different culture from nature to little islands to beaches to cities. I think it's very diverse for guests to experience. And again, not easily accessible by land. Another option would be to start in Bali and in Darwin, going along the Komodo and Spice Islands. So you see, there's quite a lot, but I don't want to keep you for another half hour because I could keep going. These and all other promotions, we have them in a little folder that just came out. It's our Experience Wonders Beyond with Scenic promo folder. It has discounts on selected dates. It also has selected dates without single supplement. I know that's always a big topic. It's a PDF that can be downloaded. I will send the link afterwards to Carrie so that she can send it to you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. If you need any printed brochures, we have them available in euros. And then again, we have a B2B Facebook group. If you want to join, please feel free. I would love to see you there. We always try to give updates about promos, inspiration, new itineraries, events that we're attending. So it's always quite nice to interact with all of you. And I want to thank you so much. I'm sorry I, again, extended the time. I promised Carrie I wouldn't go beyond 30 minutes, but yes, apparently I talked a little bit too much.